Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I've tried recording this a few times, and for whatever reason, it's just not clicking. It's just not feeling right. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not even gonna look at my notes right now. I'll probably try to look at them at some point. I'm just gonna talk. And I'm gonna talk about why Godzilla Minus One is my favorite Godzilla movie thus far. Because of all the films we have seen for the marathon, which are the Showa era films, the monster, not all the MonsterVerse movies, because we haven't watched 2014 or King of the Monsters in a while, but we saw the new one in theaters, and the other one not too long ago. It's close enough that it counts. This trumps all of them. Even the original, my beloved Gogeta. This one's my favorite. Being able to see it in theaters, I think helps because it does make just like the scale feel that much bigger, like the sound, it's that much harder, and things like that. We also got to see the black and white showing. And personally, having rewatched some of the other scenes in color as well, as great as it looks in color, because like it won the Oscar for visual effects. The movie looks fantastic. But watching Godzilla destroy shit in black and white just feels right. It is just love it. And those, like I said, those help. But what makes it my favorite Godzilla movie, has the best human characters by far. I love Koichi and his story. I love his relationship with Noriko. I love his relationship with his crewmates. I love, like, when we actually get Tachibana back, their interactions. It's also interesting to me. So many Godzilla movies, even the ones where I kind of like the human cast, they're fine. They get the job done. Usually, if I like the human cast, they're good enough, with like some exceptions. Again, it's been a while since I've seen 2014, but I remember really liking Bryan Cranston's character, and then he's not in the rest of the movie. I remember really liking Serizawa, both in the MonsterVerse movies and in the original Gogeta. If Godzilla was not in Minus One, like, granted, there's a lot of things in Minus One that wouldn't happen or not quite work, I would still be invested in Koichi, in this story of a war survivor who, in his own mind, whether it's kind of justified or not, is a coward coming home and not finishing his duty and seeing, this is my home after the war, the home that I failed to save, that I failed to protect, and wrestling with that is so interesting. There's this bit in the movie when he's talking to Noriko about how he can't move on. I think the phrase he says, he's like, my war hasn't ended yet, which of course, kind of made me think of Rambo, but it really reminded me of all things, Batman, specifically Mask of the Phantasm, which, if you haven't seen, Mask of the Phantasm is phenomenal. There's this bit in the movie where, as like part of like flashbacks, Bruce Wayne is at his parents' grave, and he's talking about this woman that he met, that he's fallen in love with, and he's starting to start a life with her, but he's torn between that and being Batman and being vengeance and all that kind of shit. And the thing I remember is he's at his parents' grave and he's crying and he's saying, I didn't count on this. I didn't count on being happy. And Koichi is going through the same thing. He wants to be able to have this relationship with Noriko. He wants to be a father to Akiko. But his war isn't over. He didn't count on being happy. He's not allowing himself to be happy. He's not allowing himself to receive love and kindness because he hates himself because of all those men that he saw die on that island. And then Tachibana gave him their family photos. So Koichi remembers for the rest of his life the people who died, the people he failed to save, and all of the people who won't have their husbands, brothers, fathers, sons, etc. coming back to them. also Godzilla is here. And like, it's like, this is so interesting, and like, there's so much good shit. Oh, right, Goji's in the movie and is fucking cool. And I love how, like, Godzilla is very much just like its own entity, and like, we'll talk about Goji in a second. But what I love is how the way he's presented in the moments when he shows up, it's more like he's Koichi's personal demon. Like, this is the physical manifestation of his cowardice and his guilt coming to haunt him. He escapes the war, he's a kamikaze pilot, and then he's like, oh, there were problems with my plane. He goes to get away and get his plane fixed. That's when he first sees Godzilla. He has a job, and he's kind of starting to get his life together. There's Godzilla. He's finally saying, I can move forward with my life, and I found someone that I love. There's Godzilla. It's so, like, the timing of Godzilla's appearances they feel like they have so much meaning to them beyond just, it's been a while, let's have Godzilla destroy some shit, or like, all right, let's have Godzilla fight the monster. It all works so well. And I genuinely enjoy Godzilla movies, but it works in a way that I'm really not used to seeing in Godzilla movies so far. I know I just compared Koichi to Batman, like specifically Mask of the Phantasm. I was reminded a lot of Fate Stay Night. The survivor's guilt, and like, if I was a little bit better, maybe I could have saved people, but I wasn't able to. Like, this is Shiro Emiya. I have to, help people and be willing to sacrifice myself because I don't deserve to be happy because I shouldn't be here. That is Shiro Emiya. Like, holy shit. Like, VN Shiro in particular. I've talked before, I'm like, of the two anime adaptations I have seen, the Dean FSN and the Ufotable Unlimited Blade Works, I don't like Shiro. And then reading the VN, he's my favorite character. I'm reminded a lot of VN Shiro, and I thought it was incredible. Okay, I do want to look at my notes because I want to talk about Godzilla for a little bit. Like, Goji, the actual character. So like I said, it feels like he's the physical manifestation of Koichi's guilt coming back to haunt him. Some of the other things I really like is, me personally, this, I think, is the first time I have ever dreaded seeing Godzilla in a movie. Where I'm usually just like, there he is, there we go, let's destroy some shit, let's fight some monsters. Anytime after that first scene, I'm like, oh no, I like these people, man. I don't want to see Koichi die. I don't want to see his crewmates die. Oh man. Like, the part in the movie where they say, like, oh yeah, Noriko now has a job in Ginza. I'm like, wait a second. There's a part in the movie where Godzilla attacks a city. Is that Ginza? Oh, no. I saw a little bit ago when you took that picture of her, and I'm like, that is meant to be a memento after she dies. No, I know it's coming. I am not ready for this. And what I love about Goji's character in this movie, is that I feel like he has one. He is a predator. And he loves the thrill and the chase of playing with his food. The first scene when he's on the island, he's not like super huge, like he's big, but he's not like Goji. It felt very Jurassic Park. Like, he kind of looks like a T-Rex. I remember Clay was like, he kind of looks like Zilla here. Where you actually see him like going down, chomping on people and just throwing them. Like, he's really aggro and like malicious in this movie. And then you get the later scene, which, like, if that's Jurassic Park, the Spielberg movie, the next scene is very much Jaws, when Koichi and his crewmates are on the boat and they're trying to avoid Godzilla, which has this really fucking funny scene when they realize, okay, this is what we're here to do. We're here to fight this monster, and the captain's like, we're gonna do it. I don't care that we have a small boat. I don't care that they're throwing us out to die. We are doing a job. We're going to help the government. We're going to help Japan. And he sees Godzilla and goes, changed my mind. Let's live, boys. So talk about that in a bit, like the theme of the movie. Like, it's genuinely really funny in that scene. But you've got Godzilla just following behind the boat. And you know if he wanted to, he could just kill him. He could just lunge and bite him. He could atomic breath him, probably swipe him with his claws. He's just taking his time, just having fun, enjoying the thrill of the chase, because he's a fucking bastard. And they're attacking him, and he's not doing anything. I think for him, it's like, what's that line from Puss in Boots? It's like, shit, I don't remember exactly what Death says at one point, but it's something along the lines of like, yeah, go ahead, run. It makes it more fun for me. That's kind of how it felt. And then they put a mine in his mouth and it explodes and you see him heal. And you feel the attitude change of, this isn't fun anymore. You know, I was having a good time scaring you and playing with you a bit, but now you're fighting back. That hurt. Okay. No more nice Goji. And that's when the Takao shows up. Which, I'm not, like, super big into Cancol. I've seen the anime adaptation. I don't know if there's been, like, multiple cores. I think I saw the first core when it came out. Like, I like it fine. Have a bit of a soft spot for Taco. I actually have a figure of Taco somewhere. So I was like, I kind of in a way get this reference. This is really cool. And as soon as there was a bigger fish to fry, Goji stopped giving a shit about the little ship. And part of it was, okay, this thing is now attacking me. This is the problem. But again, he's a predator. And he's very proud. Why would I go for this tiny little dinghy when I can get that? And the fight with the Takao does not last long, but it is cool. Like, he's getting up, he's clawing at it, and he gets blasted, and he goes underwater. And again, like, I've seen it in color, and it's cool. But in black and white, seeing just, like, the charge of the atomic breath underwater and then the destruction of the Taco is amazing. Holy shit. Excuse me. Just wanted to make sure I hit all the things before I start talking about the other atomic breath scenes, and I did. So let's talk about them. That first one, when he destroys the Taco underwater, like, you see the charge, like, from below the water, but you don't actually see Godzilla doing it, is really cool. Then there's the attack on Ginza, which is when you first hear the theme, not the entire theme, but you hear the bah, 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 as he's walking in and is attacking the train that Noriko is on. I'm like, man, I'm hyped to hear the theme, and I always love seeing Godzilla, but this is not the time, Goji! And, you get some real high-quality destruction. You know, he's fucking up the subway, it's like in his mouth, and he's chewing it. There's the scene of the reporters on the roof, and as, like, the roof collapses. It's really fucking cool. And then you get my single favorite use of the atomic breath. Even more than the, fuck you, Hedera, I am going to invent flight by firing my breath at the ground, which is one of my favorite moments in any Godzilla movie. But this, when like all the tanks and shit are there, and Godzilla sees it, and you've got the spines just like, and it's glowing, and Godzilla in this movie is so fast. And it's so unsettling. It's like, I hate how fast he is. It's so cool. But just the firing of the breath. And then all that shit is destroyed. And you see Godzilla just reveling in it. Like, look at what I have done. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. But here's the thing. The atomic breath, also kind of known as his heat ray, very often just looks like here's a blast. It's Godzilla's using Hyper Beam. And it's cool. I like it. In this movie, it really feels like this is an atomic breath. He can breathe a fucking nuke. You see like the big ass explosions. I think there was a mushroom cloud as well. You get the blowback from the blast. And then you get like the black rain because it's so fucking polluted. It's cool. It's amazing. But that moment of like when the blowback is coming and all the rubble is flying and Noriko just pushes Koichi out of the way, I fucking gasped. And I had said it earlier. I was like, I know she's gonna die. As soon as they took that picture, I'm like, she's dead. She's gonna be his memento. I get it. Didn't mean I wanted to see it happen. I had said, it's like, I'm not gonna be ready for it when it does. And so good. You get the scene after with like they have her wake and Akiko, knowing her mom is going to come back, just starts crying, and Koichi's like, it's because I tried to be happy. I tried to move forward and be happy and accept this, and this is what I get. Is devastating. And this leads to the third act of the movie, where he and his crewmates, because one of them's like a former dude in the Navy, get a bunch of other ex-soldiers together and like, yeah, our war isn't over yet. We have to take care of this thing. The government is not going to help. We have to be able to help ourselves and come together as a nation, as soldiers, as brothers. Let's go save our country. And I really like the plan. Like when they first start describing it, Claire's like, is that like this movie's version of the Oxygen Destroyer? And I was like, I don't know. I'm very partial to the Oxygen Destroyer. Like, it's cool. I'm happy to see it. It's like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna blast the shit out of him and like sink him to the bottom of this trench, and that will hopefully fucking kill him from the pressure. And if it doesn't, we're gonna put him back up super quick, and so the decompression will fuck him up. And if that doesn't kill him, I don't know what we're gonna do, because that should kill anything. And then Koichi gets the idea of, can you get me a plane? Because I, like, you know, when I doing all like the simulators and stuff, I was a really good pilot. I can help lure him into where we have to go. And his companions are like, assuming we can, and they obviously do, but they're like, assuming we can, you have to promise us that you're not going to be a kamikaze pilot. This cannot be just a stupid thing for revenge. You have something to live for. You have people who love you. You have that little girl. Don't throw your life away. And Koichi, of course, fully intends on throwing his life away. And he finds Tachibana, who is the only other survivor of that first Godzilla attack, who asked Koichi, like, go into your plane and use your gun and kill this thing. Koichi went into the thing and couldn't shoot because he was terrified. And granted, probably wasn't gonna work, but he doesn't know that. Tachibana doesn't know that. All they know is he couldn't do it, and a lot of people died afterwards. And granted, they started shooting, and then Goji's like, all right, if you're attacking me, y'all are fucked. But maybe none of that would have happened if he had fired. And he gets Tachibana, who's like, okay, if you want me to build you a fucking kamikaze plane, I will do it. This is your redemption. Yeah, go kill that monster that you should have killed. Make up for all the lives that you have ended. At the end of all of this, when it's finally time for the big operation, Tachibana tells Koichi, and you don't see this, but you find out later, there is an ejector seat. I want you to live. And it's something that me personally watching, I was like, I wonder, was this something he had always kind of intended on adding into the ship? Or, excuse me, into the plane? Or is it more just the more he worked on it and the more he saw Koichi, is it that, I see that this man has a lot to live for, and so I want him to live? Is it, I see now there is no hesitation in this man. He is willing to throw his life away, and that's enough for me? Is it kind of both of those at once? Or is it just like, look, I don't intend on having someone else die if I don't have to. I am always going to build an ejector seat into this plane. I don't know. But I find it really interesting. But then it's time for the climax. For this plan against Godzilla. And something that the movie doesn't tell you. Because I learned this from reading a YouTube comment. I did a little bit of my own research, and it sounds like this is accurate. Is the ship, because they use a few ships at the climax. The main ship that they use is the Yumikaze. And apparently, during World War II, the Yumikaze was famous for being a ship that survived every battle. I think it was with nary a scratch on it. To the point where it was considered a bad luck charm, because if you saw the Yumikaze showing up to a fight, you kind of knew, oh, they're going to be the ones that make it out, not us. And apparently, the Yumikaze's crew, it's something they kind of took to heart. And so, they had a sort of survivor's guild. You're like, fuck, that works so well, given, the themes of the movie and Godzilla being Koichi's survivor's guilt demon. That's so cool. So during the climax, this is when you, by the way, get the full version of the theme. You get the ba 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 ba, but you also get the ba 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 ba, and it's so fucking hype. Oh, it's so good. So the way the climax ends, there's a point where Godzilla atomic breaths one of the ships, and it's a decoy with no one on it. They sink him. They raise him and he's decompressed. And as soon as he gets up, he looks fucked up, he's damaged, he's angry, he is immediately charging his breath. It's not even I got up and now I'm charged. It's no, he was charging on the way up. He was ready to kill everybody as soon as he reached the water's surface. And all of the soldiers looking death right in the face. Just take off their hats. They're ready. And Koichi takes his plane that is loaded with explosives and flies it right into Godzilla's mouth. And you do see the ejector seat go off right before it goes in. And it blows up half of Godzilla's face. And it looks so fucking cool. So you've got this fucked up, decompressed Godzilla missing the top half of his face, and the atomic energy is just leaking out of him as he sinks back into the water, and they all salute the fallen god as it sinks into the abyssal depths. And when they realize that their boy got out, the sheer joy is beautiful. It is incredible. So, as for the themes of the movie, number one, like I said, survivor's guilt. I talked about the Yumikaze, about how Koichi can't forgive himself, how Godzilla is his personal demon, how it's something that Tachibana just kind of has over him. But Koichi is finally able to forgive himself. Tachibana is finally able to forgive him. And he is able to overcome, again, the manifestation of this issue. I feel like you also get another theme of just the indomitable human spirit. Japan was fucked up during the war, but they rebuild. And they get fucked up by Godzilla. And they rebuild. And they fight back. Even if the government isn't going to help us, we are here to help us. And something I really like about the planning, which is getting into the final theme, which is the big theme of the movie, let's make a plan where we don't have to sacrifice anyone. Our strategy during the war was essentially, we have reserves. That's what kamikaze pilots were for. It's like, your life doesn't mean anything as long as it's in service to the effort, to the country. Fuck that. Every life in this room matters. Let's not waste a single one. Because the number one theme of -1 is just to live. To live your life. To live it for the people around you. And to live it for yourself. Koichi's mother, before he went off to war, said, live. Come back. And he did. You have Noriko telling him to live and sacrificing her own life to save. It's less that she sacrificed herself and more just, I don't care what happens to me so long as you make it out. You have his friends telling him to live. You have, fuck, I'm actually doing up a bit. You've got Tachibana, this man who has hated him for years. And like, if Godzilla is the manifestation of his guilt, so is Tachibana. And this man who hates him and blames him for all of this and has literally thrown this guilt onto him with all the pictures is begging him to live. And he fucking does it. Like, I remember watching it and being like, I really don't want to see this man die. Like, I want you, you son of a bitch. I want you to live. I want you to survive. I'm just gonna read from my notes here. I was like, I kind of went on a bit of a rant there. I was like, live. If you're alive, you've got to make the most of it. Not because you don't know how much time you have left, but because you have time at all. To live for the people who couldn't, to live for the people who love you, and to most of all, live for yourself. And at the end of the movie, we find out that Noriko is alive. There's some shit, like there's this like black shit around her neck, and I don't know, maybe it's like red in the color version, I don't know. But it's like there's some finicky thing that'll go on that'll get resolved later. So we'll see. And there's a part of me that's like, is that maybe a little bullshit? I mean, it's maybe feasible that someone would survive that. I don't know. And then there's the other part of my brain that's just like, look, the second that telegram came in and they didn't say what it was, you knew exactly what it was. And you were happy. You're like, I don't care that this is maybe a little bullshit, maybe a little saccharine. I just want to see these people live. If that is the theme of -1, it's to live and to keep going. I like her surviving. And I think what makes it really work is Koichi doesn't learn until after the fight with Godzilla. It's not, I was going to kill myself, I was going to be done, I was going to sacrifice myself. But then I realized that, like, my girlfriend is still alive, so I have a reason to live. Koichi already made that decision. He is going to continue, even without her, because he still has things to live for. This is just kind of an added bonus. I really liked that. This is easily my favorite Godzilla movie of the marathon, as I've said. I feel like I've said this a few times in recent weeks. Is like, this is another contender for being my favorite movie I've seen this year. I feel like my big three right now are, House, this, and The Fall. I don't think I would quite put Inside Out 2 on there. It's like just below, kind of the same with Dune. I'm not sure about Look Back. Also, like, Look Back's like around an hour. Like, it's a movie. You could maybe say it's more of like a special. I don't know. If it counts as a movie, it is one of my favorite movies of the year, though. Like, I absolutely love Look Back. But this was phenomenal. And I'm so glad I got to watch it. And I'm glad I'm watching it when I watched it. Again, like, if it was the last Godzilla movie we saw, it would have just been like, what a way to end it. But as I've said in like my last few like weekly videos, I feel like personally I've been doing a lot better physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And there is just kind of that sense of like, yeah, I want to live and like make the most of my life for, kind of like I was saying, and like a bit of a random my notes. Like, yeah, it's for the people around me, for the people who love me. But also I want to do that for myself. And as someone who has had experiences with, not wanting to live, it does hit. Like, Koichi's story hits really hard. Obviously, it's not one-to-one. I've never been a kamikaze pilot, and thankfully, I've never encountered Godzilla. But it does hit hard. I don't know. Maybe that's why, as I was talking about it, the part that really got me is it's his friends' reactions and just how happy they are to see him still going. That one resonates with me a lot. Phenomenal film. If you haven't seen it, just spoiled the shit out of it for you. My bad for not giving a spoiler warning. I'll put it in the description. Please, I implore you to go see it. Even if you're not a Godzilla fan, you don't like monster movies, this is worth it. Please go see it.